Realizing your own children don't want you in their lives feels like the air being ripped right out of your chest. One minute you're fine just breathing normally, the next it's like you're drowning while everyone just walks by. I know because I lived through that. I was standing on my son's porch on Christmas Day, my arms full of carefully chosen gifts, when he looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Sorry, I think you've got the wrong house." It was like I ceased to exist. And the cruelest part? He said it with a calm face, while his kids played inside and Christmas music played somewhere behind him. I've always been the kind of mom who'd do anything for her kids. When my husband died suddenly 19 years ago, I didn't have the luxury of falling apart. I had 2 teens to raise, Tyler was 15 and Rachel was 13, and a mortgage I could barely cover. I sold our family home back in Vermont, moved us into a small 2-bedroom apartment, and picked up overnight shifts at the hospital where I worked as a nurse. I stopped going to salons, learned to fix the pipes myself, and drove that same beat-up Chevy for over a decade because every extra dime went toward my kids' futures. And they did make something of themselves, that much I'll give them. Tyler earned a business degree from Penn State, married his college girlfriend, Melissa, and now works for a finance company in Raleigh. Rachel followed her own path, graduated from Ohio State, and moved to Denver for a job in marketing. I was so proud of them. Proud enough that I brushed off the missed calls, the forgotten birthdays, the fact that invitations became more and more rare. They're just busy building their lives, I'd say to my sister Linda when she noticed the distance. That's what we raised them to do. But by the time I turned 58 after 3 decades of being a mother, I was just plain worn out. Worn out from feeling like an afterthought. From hearing the strain in their voices when they did call. From sending checks every month to help cover their bills. Their mortgages, their cars, even daycare. Money I should have been saving for retirement. And the only thanks I ever got was a quick, "Got it." Thanks, usually by text. So I kept going. That's what moms do, right? We keep giving even when we're empty. But this past December I decided enough was enough. I was going to spend Christmas with my grandkids. Tyler and Melissa had 2 sweet children. Lily, who's 6, and Mason, 4, and I'd barely seen them in person. Rachel was expecting her first baby in March. I wanted to be more than a voice on the phone or a name on a greeting card. I wanted to be there. So, in early December I picked up the phone and called Tyler. My hands were shaking as I went over what to say. He picked up sounding distracted. I could hear office noise in the background. "Hey honey," I said. "I won't keep you long. I just wanted to ask, would it be okay if I came for Christmas this year? I'd really love to see the kids open their gifts." There was silence for a moment, then a door clicked shut. His voice got quieter. "Christmas? I don't know, Mom. Melissa's folks are coming and space is kinda tight." I jumped in before he could say more. "I can stay at a hotel. I promise I won't be in the way." Another pause. "Let me talk to Melissa. I'll get back to you." But he didn't. After a week with no word, I called again. Straight to voicemail. I left a message trying to sound calm. "Tyrad's mom. Just wondering if you talked to Melissa yet about Christmas. I found a nice hotel nearby. Let me know." 3 days later he texted, "Christmas is fine. Dinner at 3. No hotel needed. You can have the guest room." I was so happy I cried. I booked my flight that same day, spent hours picking out presents for the kids, and even splurged on a beautiful emerald dress that made my silver hair shine. I wanted to look nice in the family pictures. The flight to Raleigh on Christmas Eve was bumpy, but I didn't care. My heart was full. The neighborhood where Tyler lived was straight out of a magazine. Big homes with snow on the lawns, lights twinkling on every porch. I arrived just after 2 p.m., rolling my suitcase up the walkway, heart thumping with excitement. I saw someone move behind the glass of the front door, and when it opened there stood my son. For a second his face looked surprised. Then something else flickered across it, something I couldn't name. He looked so much like his dad, taller than I remembered, a little gray at the temples, that it caught me off guard. "Mom," he said flatly. "You're early." I smiled, trying to brush off the chill in his tone. My flight landed early. I couldn't wait to see everyone. But he didn't move. I could hear laughter and music behind him. "We thought you were coming tomorrow," he said, standing firmly in the doorway. My brow furrowed. "Your text said dinner at 3. Today's Christmas." He gave a little sigh. "Christmas dinner is tomorrow. Today's just Christmas Eve. We're doing something small with Melissa's parents." I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and showed him his text. See? Says Christmas is fine. Dinner at 3. He barely looked at the screen. That's not what I meant. Look, Mom, today is just for family. Then he added, tomorrow is when we do the big dinner, for extended family. The words hit like a slap. Extended family. I swallowed the lump in my throat. That's fine. I can come back tomorrow. Maybe you can point me to the hotel? The one you said I didn't need because I'd be staying here. His face flickered, maybe with guilt. The guest room's not ready. We thought you were arriving tomorrow. And just like that, I stood there on the porch holding a suitcase full of gifts, while it slowly sank in that I wasn't welcome. So, where am I supposed to go tonight? He shifted, uncomfortable. There's a holiday in about 15 minutes away. I can call for you. Then a small voice called out from behind him, Daddy, who's at the door? He turned, his whole posture softening. Nobody, sweetheart. Just go back to Grandma and Grandpa. Nobody. That's what I was now. I took a step back, barely holding my head high. Don't worry about the hotel, I said. I'll figure something out. Mom, he started, but I cut him off. Merry Christmas, Tyler. Give the kids a hug for me. And I walked away, the suitcase suddenly feeling 10 times heavier. I didn't look back, not even when I heard the door close. I got about a block away before the tears started, hot and furious against the winter wind. I sat on a bench at a bus stop, clutching my coat tight, and decided right then, I wouldn't stay at a hotel. I'd come back the next day. Maybe it really had been a misunderstanding. Maybe it would be different. But it wasn't. When I showed up the next day at exactly 2:45 p.m., wearing my new green dress and carrying all the gifts, Tyler opened the door and looked me dead in the eye. And said, Sorry, I think you've got the wrong house. For a second I thought he was joking. Some awful joke that would end with a hug. But there was no warmth in his eyes. Just ice. Behind him I could see a glowing Christmas tree, a dinner table perfectly set, and Melissa moving around in the kitchen. Tyler, I whispered, it's me. Your mom. He didn't flinch. You must have the wrong address. No one named Tyler lives here. Then he shut the door. I stood there frozen. The world tilted. This couldn't be real. As I started walking down the steps, my phone rang. It was him. His name on the screen. I answered, hope bubbling up. Mom, he said, sounding casual, like nothing had happened. Sorry about that. Melissa's parents are super traditional and, well, they don't know about the financial help you give us. We just wanted to keep things smooth. I repeated his words slowly. Financial arrangement? Yeah, you know, the monthly support. Then he added, why don't you head back to your hotel? I'll call you tomorrow once things settle down. My voice cracked. I don't have a hotel, Tyler. I came to spend Christmas with my family. He sighed, annoyed. Mom, I can't do this right now. Just give us a little space, okay? We'll talk later. I don't understand, I said, choking on the words. What did I do? Nothing. It's not. Look, I've gotta go. Dinner's about to start. Just relax, Mom. We need peace. I stood there, phone still pressed to my ear, my whole body trembling. I took a deep breath and managed to say, I understand, just before I was about to hang up. But then I heard it, Tyler's voice, faint and careless, like he had pulled the phone away but hadn't yet disconnected. She actually thinks that money she sends each month buys her a seat at the table. The phone slipped right out of my hand and landed in the snow with a soft thud. I just stared at it, frozen, before bending slowly to pick it up. The line was still active. I ended the call with a shaking finger. That sentence kept playing in my head, looping over and over as I dragged my suitcase back toward the main road. It echoed as I flagged down a cab, as I checked into the Holiday Inn, and as I sat stiffly on the hotel bed, still gripping my purse like it might vanish. Even late that night, the words lingered, and that's when I opened my banking app. For the first time in years, I felt calm as I canceled the automatic transfers to both my children. I went to sleep without a single tear, without that usual knot in my chest. Just deep, dreamless rest, like my soul had finally stopped fighting. The next morning I woke up to a screen full of missed calls, 25 in total. 15 from Tyler, 10 from Rachel. My inbox was overflowing with frantic texts. Mom, the transfer didn't go through. Everything okay? Mom, I need that money for Mason's daycare. What the hell? I'm about to miss my mortgage payment. Call me. I scrolled through them like I was reading someone else's mail. Then I silenced my phone and placed it on the nightstand before stepping into a hot shower. As the water rushed over me, something inside me solidified. I was finished. Done being used. Done being invisible until my wallet was needed. Done sacrificing my life for people who treated me like a human ATM. I got dressed in the same outfit I'd planned to wear to Christmas dinner. I took my time with my makeup and gently styled my silver hair into soft waves. And when I looked in the mirror, I almost didn't recognize myself. I looked lighter. The constant stress that had lived on my face for years seemed to have faded overnight. I went down to the lobby and extended my stay by 3 more days. I needed time to figure out what came next. Then I walked to a nearby cafe, ordered a cappuccino and breakfast, and pulled out my tablet. For so many years I'd dreamed about traveling, but I always found a reason to put it off. What if the kids needed me? What if I could use that money to help them? What if it wasn't safe to travel alone at my age? Excuses. All of them. And they'd kept me stuck in a life that was slowly draining me. That morning, with total clarity, I booked a one-way ticket to Thailand, leaving in 2 days. I'd always wanted to see the temples, the street food, the color and chaos. And now I would. From there, maybe I'd explore more of Southeast Asia, just taking my time. The idea sent a thrill through me, a strange, long-forgotten feeling. Excitement. My phone started to buzz on the table again. It was Rachel this time, her name lighting up the screen. I hesitated, then answered. Mom, finally, she said, her voice sharp. What's going on with the transfers? Tyler said his didn't go through either. No hello. Oh, how are you? Just straight to the money. Good morning, Rachel, I said, my voice calm. I've decided to stop the monthly transfers. There was a beat of silence. Then a gasp. You did what? You can't do that. I'm counting on that money for the baby's nursery. I took a slow sip of my cappuccino. I'm sorry to hear that. You and Daniel might need to adjust your budget. Her voice snapped back, accusing. This is about Tyler, isn't it? He told me what happened. It was just a misunderstanding. You're being totally ridiculous. This isn't about Tyler, I replied, though we both knew that wasn't entirely true. This is about me finally realizing my value. He laughed. A sharp, cold sound. Your value? Mom, you're almost 60. This isn't the time to go find yourself or have some midlife crisis. Her words should have hurt. They didn't. I'm 58, Rachel. Not dead. And I've spent my entire adult life putting myself last. So that's it, she said bitterly. You're just cutting us off? No warning? Because your feelings got hurt. I took a deep breath, letting her words roll right off me. I've given each of you over $1,000 a month. For years. That's more than enough time to get on your feet. We are on our feet, she snapped. But things are tight with the baby coming and Daniel's income not being stable. Then maybe it's time for you to make the same kinds of sacrifices I made when your dad passed. Cut back. Get creative. Clip coupons. Her voice cracked with anger. I can't believe you're doing this. After everything we've been through. Exactly, I said gently. We haven't really been a family in a long time. I'm just acknowledging that now. For a second she was quiet. Then her tone changed, turning soft and manipulative. Mom, please. I know Tyler was awful, but don't punish me for his mistake. I need you. The baby needs you. 5 minutes ago I was selfish and having a crisis. Now I was needed. It was almost funny. I'm not punishing anyone, Rachel. I'm choosing myself, finally. I've already booked a flight to Thailand. I'm going to travel. Maybe volunteer using my nursing experience. It's something I've wanted for a long time. Thailand? Are you kidding me? Her voice rose. What about when the baby's born? You're just going to skip the birth of your first grandchild. I smiled softly. I'll send gifts. Just like you do on my birthday, when you remember. There was a long pause. Then she spat. You're selfish. Dad would be ashamed of you. Then she hung up. I held the phone for a moment, waiting for that guilt to hit me. But it didn't. There was no panic, no urge to apologize. Only peace. Like something heavy had finally fallen away. That afternoon I got to work. I called my landlord and gave notice. Asked my sister Linda to pack up my apartment and either store or donate my things. I contacted the hospital and officially resigned after 32 years. It took one short phone call and a promise to send a formal email. By the time evening came, my phone had stopped buzzing. No more calls. No more guilt trips. Maybe Tyler and Rachel were sitting together, spinning some version of me into the villain. The thought didn't hurt the way it used to. I ordered room service, opened my laptop, and searched for places to stay in Bangkok. I scrolled through pictures of golden temples and lively street markets, and suddenly I felt it, a lightness in my chest. Freedom. I hadn't felt that in years. The next morning there was a knock at my hotel door. I opened it and there stood Tyler, eyes red and tired, his face pale. He'd driven all the way from Raleigh to Vermont, tracking me down through my credit card activity. "Mom," he said quietly, "we need to talk." I stepped aside, keeping my face calm, and let him in. He walked in slowly, like he was expecting an ambush. "You've caused quite a panic," I said, motioning toward the armchair by the window. He sat down, looking exhausted. I stayed standing. He rubbed his hands through his messy hair. "What did you expect? You disappear, cut us off, quit your job. Aunt Linda thought maybe you'd—" He stopped, unable to finish. "You thought I killed myself?" I asked. "Well, isn't that something? Funny how it takes imagining my death to get you to show up." "That's not fair," he said sharply, eyes flashing. "I'm here now, aren't I?" I nodded. "Yes, now that your mortgage is in danger." He looked away, ashamed. "It's not about the money." I folded my arms. "It's always been about the money. I just didn't want to admit it." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I know I screwed up Christmas. Melissa's parents are intense." I panicked. "I'm sorry." "I'm sure you are," I said, keeping my voice flat. "But this isn't just about one Christmas. It's about years of being a backup plan. Being needed, not wanted." "That's not true," he mumbled. "Isn't it? When's the last time you called just to talk? Or invited me to visit without me having to ask first? Or thanked me, truly thanked me for everything I gave up for you?" He had nothing to say. I walked over to the mini fridge, pulled out 2 waters and handed him one. He opened it without a word. "I know I've been distant," he said after a long pause. "We both have. Life's hectic. Work, kids, mortgages. You know how it is," he said, shrugging. "I do," I answered, settling on the edge of the bed, my hands resting in my lap. I raised 2 kids completely on my own while working full-time. And still, I never missed a Sunday phone call with my mother. Not until the day she died. He winced at that. "That's different," he muttered. "How exactly?" I asked. "It just is," he snapped, frustration creeping into his tone. "Look, we're not perfect, okay? We should call more, visit more. I get that. But suddenly cutting us off, running off to another country, that's extreme. Even for you. As if I had a history of drama and impulsive choices. Not decades of steady, invisible sacrifice." "I'm not running," I corrected him quietly. "I'm traveling. Something I've wanted to do for years but never could, because I was always making sure you and your sister had what you needed. And let's be honest, everything you wanted too." His eyes narrowed. "So now this is about punishing us? Because we weren't grateful enough." I looked at him, really looked at him. This man who once clung to my hand in parking lots, who used to fall asleep on my shoulder. When had he turned into someone so entitled? "You might not believe this, Tyler," I said gently, "but not everything I do is about you. This is about me choosing to finally live my life on my own terms." He let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, so it's just coincidence that your big revelation happened right after Christmas?" "You're confusing timing with cause," I said. "Christmas didn't trigger this. It confirmed what I've suspected for a long time, that to you I'm just a source of money. Convenient, not cherished." "That's not true," he insisted, though he couldn't quite meet my eyes. "We love you." "Maybe you do in your own way," I said. "But love without respect? That's not love. That's duty." He took a drink of water, his throat moving as he swallowed, and when he looked back at me, there was something colder behind his expression. "So what do you want?" he asked. "Excuse me. To fix this," he clarified, gesturing between us. "Do you want more visits? Weekly phone calls? We can arrange that." The way he said it, like we were negotiating a contract, made my stomach twist. "I don't want anything that doesn't come freely," I said. "Then what's the point of all this?" he demanded, voice rising. "If this isn't some grand lesson or manipulation, then what are you trying to do?" "I'm letting go," I said softly. Of all of it. And in doing that, I'm letting you go too. No more pressure. No more pretending we're close. No more being your convenient, invisible mother. One you hide from your in-laws like she's a shameful secret. A flush crept up his neck. I told you I panicked. It was a mistake. No, I said, my voice steady. A mistake is forgetting a birthday. Burning dinner. What you did was a choice. And it showed me exactly how little you value me. One bad moment doesn't erase 20 years of what? I interrupted. Me giving and you taking? You're right. It doesn't erase it. It just reveals it. He shot up from his chair and started pacing the room. So that's it, he snapped. You're done with your own children? I'm done being used, I replied. If you and Rachel want a real relationship, one built on respect and genuine care, I'm open to that. But it won't come with checks attached. And it's not going to be on your terms anymore. And if we don't agree to that, then I guess we don't have a relationship. Those aren't conditions, Tyler. They're boundaries. And I'm finally setting them. He stared at me like he was seeing someone unfamiliar. Maybe he was. For most of his adult life, I'd been little more than a voice on the phone, a signature on a check, someone who showed up at the big events and disappeared just as quickly. I can't believe this, he muttered. After everything Dad and I sacrificed, I let out a sharp laugh. Your father's been gone for 19 years. And what exactly did you sacrifice, Tyler? Please, enlighten me. His mouth opened, then shut again. We both knew the answer. Exactly, I said, rising to my feet. I think it's time you left. Mom, I have a plane to catch tomorrow. I still have packing to do. He didn't move. You're really going to Thailand? Yes. For how long? As long as I feel like staying. Maybe a month. Maybe a year. His expression tightened. What about your apartment? Your job? Your entire life? I gave notice on the apartment. Linda is handling the rest. My job? I've worked at that hospital for 32 years. I think I've earned some time for myself. Then came the question I'd been waiting for. His voice dropped. And the money? There it was, the real reason he'd come. There is no our money, Tyler. There never was. It was my money. I shared it with you because I chose to. I'm choosing differently now. We have obligations, Mom, he said, his voice rising again. Mortgages. Car payments. Lily's school tuition. Mason's therapy. We can't just, those are choices you made, I cut in. And now they're yours to manage. Like every other adult does. He rubbed his face, desperation creeping into his features. We can't restructure everything overnight. We need time. You've had time. Years, in fact. What did you think would happen when I retired? That the money would just keep showing up. I didn't think about it, he blurted. Okay? I didn't think. We took you for granted. Is that what you want to hear? I nodded slowly. Yes. And now you've said it. But that doesn't change anything. We stood there, the hotel room stretching silent between us. I could see it in his eyes, the moment he realized I wasn't backing down. No guilt trip, no shouting match was going to work. What should I tell Rachel? He asked. Tell her whatever you want. Though the truth might be refreshing for once. He picked up his coat, his movements sharp. You know she's pregnant. The stress from all this, it's not good for her or the baby. One last play. I had to admire his persistence. Rachel's a grown woman, I said. She has a husband. A medical degree. I'm sure she can manage. As he pulled on his coat, his mouth twisted. When Dad died, you promised you'd always be there for us. And I said quietly. For 19 years I gave you everything I had. But promises go both ways. Where were you when I needed you? He had no answer. He just walked to the door and paused, hand on the knob. This isn't over. For me it is. After he left, I sank onto the bed and waited, for the guilt, the doubt, the fear. But none of it came. Instead, I felt something peaceful, solid. Like I'd finally closed a chapter that had gone on too long. I picked up my phone and called Linda. Hey sis, she answered, cautious. How are you doing? Better than I expected, I said. Tyler found me. I know. He called yesterday, totally panicked. I hope you're not mad that I told him where you might be. It's okay. That conversation had to happen. And, did anything change? No. I'm still going to Thailand tomorrow. She let out a long breath. Ruth, I gotta say, I didn't think you'd actually do it. Neither did they. That was their mistake. They're devastated, she said. Rachel cried on the phone for an hour last night. About me? Or about the money? Her silence told me everything. That's what I thought, I said. How's the apartment coming along? I started packing the essentials. We've got until the end of next month. What do you want me to do with everything? Keep what you think I'll need. Donate the rest. I'm traveling light from now on. She hesitated. Are you sure about this? Traveling alone, at our age. I was sure enough to raise 2 kids alone, I said with a soft smile. I can manage a trip to Thailand. It's not quite the same. You're right, I said. This will be easier. She laughed despite herself. I'm kind of jealous. While you're wandering temples in Bangkok, I'll be watching grocery prices with Gerald. You could come, I said. Not right away but in a few months. We could meet in Vietnam or Cambodia. There was a pause and I could feel the idea settling into her mind. Maybe, she said slowly. Gerald might need some convincing. But I'll think about it. When we hung up, I turned back to packing. Each item I folded into my suitcase felt like a step toward something new. I packed just enough for mixed weather, a few comfortable pairs of shoes, my meds, and a tablet full of books I'd always meant to read. I also moved a large chunk of my savings, the just-in-case money that had always meant just in case the kids need something, into a travel account. This time the emergency was mine. The rest of my savings would stay untouched, quietly growing for whenever I felt ready to return, if I ever did. That evening I ordered what would be my last American-style meal for a while, a cheeseburger and fries from the hotel kitchen. I ate it by the window, watching the sun melt into the sky. My phone stayed silent. No calls from Tyler or Rachel. Maybe they'd finally accepted things. More likely they were just working out their next angle. Either way, it didn't matter. By tomorrow night, I'd be on the other side of the world, beginning a chapter without guilt, without obligation, and without the weight of one-sided love. For the first time in what felt like forever, I was choosing myself. And it felt like waking up from a long, heavy sleep. Bangkok hit me like a wave, thick, humid air, the clamor of horns and street vendors, and that lilting music of Thai voices filling every corner. After nearly a full day of travel, you'd think I'd be exhausted, but adrenaline carried me straight through immigration into a taxi, and off to the small boutique hotel I'd booked in the Sukhumvit area. My driver chatted cheerfully in broken English, pointing out landmarks as we crawled through traffic. I smiled and nodded, still trying to wrap my mind around the fact that I was really here. Half a world away from everything familiar. My phone hadn't buzzed since I left American airspace. I'd only sent a short message to Linda, letting her know I arrived safely, and that was it. There was something freeing about being unreachable, about letting physical distance mirror the emotional distance I'd been craving for so long. The hotel was tucked down a quiet side street, a pretty 6-story building with ivy creeping up its walls. My room was small but charming, with a little balcony overlooking a courtyard of tangled tropical plants. I took a long shower, changed into something light, and stepped out into the soft golden haze of Bangkok afternoon. The next week passed in a kind of dream. I wandered the Grand Palace, the sunlight catching on spires of gold. I watched orange-robed monks moving like shadows through temple corridors. I ate pad thai on plastic stools by the roadside, bargained clumsily for silk scarves, and took a cooking class where I learned to make green curry from scratch. Every evening I returned to my balcony with a cold beer and my little travel journal, writing not about my kids, not about Christmas, but about this new place. About a sweet old woman who taught me how to tie a sarong. About the young Australian guy who shared his table at a busy cafe and told wild stories about traveling across Southeast Asia. On my 10th day in Bangkok, I came back to my hotel to find an email from Rachel. The subject line, "We need to talk." I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. I kicked off my sandals, sat on the bed and opened it. "Mom, it's been almost 2 weeks since you ran off on whatever this is. Tyler told me about what you said at the hotel. I think you're being selfish and irresponsible, though sadly that's not new. What is new is that my doctor is worried about my blood pressure. The stress of your little disappearing act is affecting my pregnancy. Daniel and I are looking at serious complications, and with his income dropping, we're on the verge of missing our mortgage." I don't know what point you're trying to prove, but if anything happens to this baby, I'll never forgive you. Never. You made us rely on your help. You promised us support. You can't just change the rules out of nowhere. If you care at all about your family, come home. Rachel. I read it twice. Guilt. Blame. Threats. The Rachel special. Even as a kid, she was skilled at emotional gymnastics. A bad test score? The teacher was unfair. Breaking curfew? Her friend had an emergency. There was always a reason the rules didn't apply to her. And now, even her unborn baby had become part of the drama. I set the phone down and stepped onto the balcony. The old version of me would have spiraled, would have wired over money, canceled flights, and begged for forgiveness. But that woman stayed back in Vermont. I picked up my phone and started typing. Rachel, I'm sorry to hear you're having issues with your blood pressure. Pregnancy can be stressful even under the best circumstances. I hope you're following your doctor's advice. As for finances, I've already been clear. The monthly transfers are not resuming. This isn't a temporary move. It's not about teaching lessons. It's a permanent boundary. You said I promised support. I never promised indefinite financial assistance to two working adults with degrees and full-time careers. What I did promise was to love you and to raise you to stand on your own. I've kept those promises. I hope you and Daniel are able to reassess your budget and make responsible choices. Take care of yourself. And take care of the baby. Mom. I hit send before I could hesitate, then powered my phone completely off. I spent the afternoon wandering a quiet temple nearby, letting the calm sink into me. There was a Buddha statue in the corner, smiling slightly as if he approved. That evening I sat on the balcony again and made a decision. Thailand had been beautiful, but Rachel's email had soured the place. I needed a new page. I booked a flight to Hanoi, Vietnam. It left in 3 days. I'd read about the north, mist-covered limestone cliffs rising from glassy water, hill tribes preserving centuries-old traditions. Sounded like exactly what I needed. When I eventually turned my phone back on, there were no messages from Rachel. But Tyler had left a voicemail. His tone was tight, angry but measured. Mom, I don't know what you said to Rachel, but she's in the hospital. Her blood pressure's through the roof. They're talking bed rest for the rest of the pregnancy. That means unpaid leave. Daniel can't cover everything alone. This isn't a game anymore. This is about your grandchild's health. Call me. I sat on the bed, suddenly cold, my hands stiff with tension. Could I have caused this? Was my distance to blame? That old weight of mother guilt pushed down hard, threatening to undo everything I'd rebuilt. But then I remembered, this was Rachel. This was the same girl who once faked a sprain to skip a test, who claimed food poisoning to dodge a family gathering. She knew how to weaponize a crisis. I called Tyler. He picked up immediately, voice clipped. Finally. How's Rachel? I asked. She's stable. They're keeping an eye on her and the baby. The spike came after your email. I see, I said. And did she share what exactly I said? He paused. No. She was too upset to show me. Something about you cutting her off for good. Which is exactly what I told you both 2 weeks ago, I said calmly. There was nothing new in that message. Well, whatever you wrote, it landed her in the hospital. Are you proud of that? His words were like darts, sharp, meant to wound. No, Tyler. I'm not happy that Rachel's in the hospital. But I'm also not responsible for her medical diagnosis. Pregnancy complications happen. And her stress isn't my fault just because I stopped paying her bills. Unbelievable, he muttered. Your daughter's in the hospital and you're over there playing tourist, making excuses. I'm not making excuses, I said. I'm stating facts. Well, since you brought it up, I said, keeping my voice steady, yes. I'm in Thailand. And for the first time in decades, I'm actually living my own life. There was a pause, then Tyler said, almost like an accusation, at what cost, Mom? Your family? Your grandkids? I didn't flinch. My family still exists whether I'm paying their bills or not, I told him. And as for my grandchildren, they can grow up knowing me as a person or not at all. That's up to you and Rachel now. Silence stretched between us and then his voice dropped low, so soft I had to lean in to hear it. I need $10,000. I blinked, startled by how blunt he was. It caught a short laugh out of me. Excuse me. For Rachel's medical bills. For their mortgage. So they don't lose the house, he added quickly. It could be a loan if that makes it easier to hear. No, I said simply. Not $10,000. Not $10. I'm not sending any more money, Tyler. His reply was bitter. Then you're choosing to let your daughter and your grandchild sink. I hope your temples and elephant rides are worth it. He hung up before I could respond. I stayed there for a long while, phone still to my ear even though the line had gone silent. That familiar voice inside me, the one that had always whispered, "A good mother sacrifices," started to rise again. But another voice, stronger and steadier, reminded me of everything I'd already given. The retirement I'd delayed. The dreams I'd shelved. The respect I'd lost, even for myself. And what had I gotten for it? Standing outside my own son's house on Christmas Day, being told I didn't belong. No. I had nothing left to give. I set the phone down and walked to the balcony. The sky above Bangkok glowed in pinks and orange as the sun slipped behind the buildings. Tomorrow I'd visit the floating markets. The next day maybe explore the ancient ruins of Ayutthaya. And in 3 days I'd fly to Vietnam. I wasn't looking back. Whatever came next for Rachel and her pregnancy, whatever challenges Tyler and his wife faced, those were their paths now. Not mine. For the first time in years, maybe ever, I was writing my own story. And it wasn't going to be a tragedy. 6 months passed in a blur of discovery. Vietnam led to Cambodia, where I watched the sunrise over Angkor Wat in a silence so profound it felt holy. From there I moved on to Laos, then to Malaysia, each country teaching me a little more about how to let go. In a mountain village in northern Thailand, I volunteered at a medical clinic, using my nursing skills to care for patients without needing to speak their language. I learned to scuba dive off the coast of Malaysia, surrounded by silent, drifting schools of neon-colored fish. I turned 59 on a beach in Bali, eating cake under the stars with a group of 20-somethings who insisted I stay for their bonfire party. Through all of it I kept in touch with Linda. We exchanged emails once a week. She kept me up to date on anything truly important but never brought up Tyler or Rachel unless she had to. From her brief updates, I learned that Rachel had indeed spent the remainder of her pregnancy on bed rest, but gave birth to a healthy baby girl in March, my third grandchild. They named her Lily. I received no birth announcement, no photos, no invitation to meet her. That knowledge sat in my chest like a small stone. Not heavy enough to break me but too solid to ignore. Then one warm June evening while walking through a night market in Chiang Mai, my phone buzzed with an email. The sender was unfamiliar. The subject line read, "From Daniel." I found a quiet spot near a tea stall and opened it. "I'm writing without Rachel's knowledge. She'd be furious if she knew. But I believe you deserve to hear from someone. Honestly. Things have been difficult since you left. You may already know the basics. Rachel had a complicated delivery. Lily is healthy, thankfully, but Rachel has struggled emotionally on top of the money problems. We sold our house. Moved into a much smaller apartment. Rachel went back to work earlier than her doctor advised. I've picked up consulting work on top of my day job. We're surviving, but it hasn't been easy. Mark and Melissa are in a similar place. They pulled Emma from her private school. They've listed their vacation cabin. Mark even started working weekends. I don't tell you this to guilt you. Just so you understand where we're at. The reason I'm writing is this. Rachel has been offered a job in Vermont. It's a big step up. A salary that could change everything. But we'd need somewhere to stay temporarily while house hunting. Diane mentioned that your old apartment is still paid up through August. Rachel would never ask you herself. He's too proud. So I'm asking for her, for us, for Lily. I know we don't deserve anything. I know how they treated you. And I don't have excuses. I stood by and let it happen. If you choose not to answer, I'll understand. But we miss you. Not your money. Daniel. I stared at the screen. It was the first message I'd received in months that didn't come wrapped in blame or desperation. Just plain honesty. No manipulation. No guilt. Just a man trying to right a wrong. For a brief moment I imagined what it would feel like to say yes. To open the apartment to them, return to Vermont, meet Lily, maybe even begin stitching something like a family back together. The path back to my old life was suddenly there. Clear, familiar. But then I remembered Christmas Day. The blank stares. The locked door. The years of silence and quick thanks texts. The sudden warmth only when the money stopped. We miss you, not your money. A beautiful line. But was it true? Or just better packaging? I closed the email. I needed time. That night, back at my guest house, I sat on the balcony and watched the lights come on across the city. Then I opened my laptop and wrote my reply. Daniel, thank you for your message and your honesty. I'm sorry Rachel struggled with her delivery and that both of you have had to make so many hard adjustments. The same goes for Tyler and his family. These are painful lessons but necessary ones. Regarding the apartment, it's paid through August. After that, Linda will be handling the lease termination. You and Rachel are welcome to use the apartment until then. Please understand this is a temporary arrangement, not a restart of financial support. Linda has a key and can help coordinate. This doesn't erase the past. And it doesn't change my decision to live my life for myself. I won't be returning to Vermont anytime soon. This journey isn't just about what happened on Christmas. It's about reclaiming my identity after decades of putting everyone else first. As for Lily, maybe one day I'll meet her. But not like this. If we reconnect, it must be on new terms. Mutual respect, real affection. Not obligation. I wish you all the best, especially Lily. Ruth. I hit send. Then I zipped up my suitcase. My flight to Japan was in a few hours. A new place. A new leg of the journey that had no set destination, no set return. 3 days later, I got a short reply from Daniel. Simple thank you and a photo. No words, just a picture of Lily. She was beautiful. Sophie's delicate features, and a mess of dark hair that reminded me of her grandfather. I saved the photo but didn't respond. That night I called Linda. After our usual catch-up, I asked softly, "They're really struggling, huh?" "Yes," she said. "But they're managing. Rachel's new job is real. It's a good one. And get this, Tyler's taken a financial literacy course. He's apparently gotten serious about budgeting." I let out a dry chuckle. Better late than never. Then she asked gently, "Are you having second thoughts?" "Not about the money," I said. "But sometimes when I look at that photo of Lily, I wonder if I'm punishing a child for her parents' mistakes." "You're not punishing anyone, Ruth," she said. "You're just finally living your own life." "Sometimes it feels like a fine line," I admitted. "There is a difference," Linda said firmly. "It's called intent. You didn't leave to hurt anyone. You left to save yourself." I looked out at the Tokyo skyline as the city lit up around me. "I offered them the apartment." "I know," she said. "Daniel called me yesterday. He was thankful, Linda told me. But Rachel hadn't said a word." "She wouldn't," I replied. "Pride runs deep in our family. Wonder where she gets that from?" Linda teased, making us both laugh. After we hung up, I sat still for a long time thinking about all of it, about what family really means, about the decisions we make, and how one moment, one cold December afternoon on a front step, could shift the entire course of a life. Had I done the right thing? Probably not, if you go by the usual definition of what makes a good mother. A good mother forgives. He comes back. He keeps giving. But those standards had almost broken me. They had allowed my children to become people I barely recognized, and allowed me to forget who I was. In the end, it wasn't about whether my choice was right by anyone else's rules. It was about whether I could live with it. And more I found the answer was yes. 1 year to the day after that unforgettable Christmas, I stood barefoot on a quiet beach in New Zealand, watching the sun rise into a bright summer sky. My phone buzzed. A message from an international number I didn't recognize. "It's Rachel. Daniel gave me your number. Lily took her first steps yesterday. I recorded it. Thought you might want to see." No pressure to respond. There was a video attached. I tapped it open, unsure what I'd feel. And there she was, a tiny girl with dark curls wobbling across the floor, arms out, face beaming with delight as she stumbled toward whoever was filming. It was the first time Rachel had reached out directly in a year. There were no guilt trips. No requests. Just a quiet gift. A moment any grandmother would cherish. I saved the video. I didn't reply right away. But later that evening I typed a short message and hit send. "Thank you for sharing this. She's beautiful." It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a reunion. But it was something, the faintest crack in the thick wall that stood between us. A sliver of light. Maybe someday it could become more. Not the past. That version of our relationship was gone. But maybe something new, something chosen freely, built on mutual respect, not expectation. As the morning warmed and the light stretched across the Pacific, I wandered slowly down the shoreline, toes sinking into the sand. The beach ahead of me was wide open, untouched. Behind me, my footprints faded with each incoming wave. I didn't know where I was heading exactly, and for once that didn't make me afraid. It thrilled me because the path was mine. The life was mine. And no one, not even my children, would take that away from me again.